So I appreciate everybody being here today, and we're just going to jump right in. So, social communications, what is it? When we in the Sametime organization look at communications as a whole, we tend to divide it into three distinct phases now. The first was dial tone. We've all had our phones. We pick up the phone and we dialed a number and we hope somebody at the other end answered. And really, you weren't dialing a person, you were calling a location. And you might call multiple locations trying to get somebody. And ultimately, this was inefficient, so we invented things like voicemail. And then we would leave messages for people. And eventually, they would call us back, and they would leave messages for us. And then we played games like phone tag. But this was the way that we communicated for decades. Quite frankly, this was a very long period of time. And then about 15 years ago or so, we saw the evolution of new tools. Concepts like instant messaging and email and voice communications, voice over IP and web conferencing and other tools. And we entered an era called unified communications, or from an IBM perspective, we called it unified communications and collaboration. And what was unique about this era was that the defining characteristic was dominated by this concept of presence. No longer were we calling a location and hoping to get someone. We could see whether the people we knew were online, whether they were in a meeting, whether they were available. And we could immediately reach out to those people, whether it was through instant messaging or through a phone call, through click-to-call or meetings or other sorts of capabilities. And what you saw happen as we had this introduction of new sets of tools is the way we used the old tools changed. Things like voicemail. Once you started using presence and instant messaging, voicemail usage dropped significantly. The amount of storage we spent on recording and saving voicemail stopped and went down significantly. Enterprises were able to save a great deal of business. We saw productivity increase because it wasn't just, I'm going to call someone and hope that they're there, or if they're on a call, I can't talk to them. I could use instant messaging to interact with these people, even if they were on a call and otherwise engaged. So we got much more productive. But there was a limitation to unified communications. And that's actually its defining characteristic, the concept of presence. Who do I have presence information on? Well, the people I know, the people in my contact list. And who's in the organization? A lot of people you don't know. One of the first questions that everybody asks on Sametime is, are you available? Followed by, can I call you? Followed by, I've got a problem in this area, I've never seen it before, and do you know someone who knows something about how to go solve that problem? And what you would do today is you would manually walk through your contact list, and you would try and find people who knew people who could eventually get you to the information that you wanted. What we found now is with the introduction of social, we've moved into a new era of communications where it's more relevance-based. The focus is not on who do we know, but what do people know? And can they help me address the problems that I have when I'm trying to run my business? So we use tools like connections profiles, and we search on their expertise. And then we read their blogs and their forums and their wikis. And we see the files that they've posted. And we can validate whether they're actually the experts they claim to be. And then we read what other people have commented about and said about them. So now we've got external validation that, yes, these people can help. So there's this wealth of information that's available. And much like what we saw with the change to unified communications and presence-based communications, as we move from social, as we move into the social realm and relevance, it's not just about changing how we interact with people. It's not just about who we communicate with and finding the right people. We're finding an evolution taking place in the way that we're using the tools. When I landed today, or actually on Saturday, the first thing I did was text my wife and let her know that US Air hadn't crashed and killed me on the way down. Then what I did was log on the Sametime because I knew my team was waiting for me at the airport, so we were going to coordinate and catch cabs. And then I checked connections. I looked at all the activities, all the updates, all the file updates that were happening while I was in transit. Notice I didn't say I looked at email, and I didn't say I checked my voicemail. I went through those first three things. I have new tools that people are using to share and send information with me in a way that weren't available to me before. So we find that social is changing who we communicate with. It's also changing how we communicate with each other. More importantly, we find that social is changing what we communicate about. One of the defining characteristics, one of the big fears that everyone articulates when they talk about unified communications, is that it's disruptive. And it was interesting, because if any of the folks from Connexa are here, I had a nice conversation with one of their executives, and he said, I'm just learning how to use this Sametime stuff. It looks great, but I don't want it to interrupt me when I'm working all day long. Is it disruptive? How do you guys do it? Well, one of the interesting things about social is it has a tendency to reduce the low-value interactions that you get, the disruptions that happen every day, the request for the report, for the status update on the project, for the analyst paper. You don't get those kinds of requests anymore because they're being surfaced and handled through the social layer. Instead, what you get are requests about the content itself, much more high-value interactions. Explain to me why the roadmap said what it said, and how do these two pieces interact with each other. So I find that I have fewer interruptions, and when I do get interrupted, it tends to be much higher value. So let me give you a very simple example of this. I posted a file right at the end of October, the beginning of November. And it was actually a preliminary version of the roadmap that I'm going to share with you. And I wanted my sellers to have access to this report because they were going to use it with some fourth quarter sales activities they had going on. And in the span of about 2 months, late December, I took this screenshot. 84 people had downloaded that roadmap. At the most basic level, that's 84 instant messages I didn't get, 84 email requests I didn't have, 84 voicemails phone calls that didn't come into me that I didn't have to respond to. My interruptions went down. I'm also willing to bet that a significant percentage of these people never knew I existed. It would have taken them forever to go through and find everyone, but they were able to get to this information quickly by going through connections. So that means I'm able to service people who haven't even met me, know me, or understand what's going on. And in IBM, that's very important because we like to do duplicate projects. If we can't find information, we'll start a new project to go do something, and you end up with 3, 4, 5 different teams all working on the same stuff. So this is very valuable for us. But I want you to think about the second order magnitude issues. Not only were people able to get to my information without having to disrupt me, they didn't have to ask the people they knew in their contact list who they knew who might know me or someone on my team. So there's a whole range of people that weren't bothered over a 2-month period because I posted one file and made it available to folks. So that's when I talk about lowering the disruptive nature of unified communications and focusing on the high-value interactions. This is a great example of that. Now, this is not just about, when we talk about social communications, how social is changing communications. That's how we're leveraging communications in a social business environment in the context of business processes to really drive change and benefit. And I was really excited when we saw some of the abstracts that came back to us because, again, they embodied that message. Now, there's a session that Continental's putting on. If I walk up to my screen here, it's on Tuesday afternoon. And the marketing people at IBM got a hold of it and changed the abstract title to something along the lines of, smarter workforces or what have you. But the initial abstract was actually called Same Time as a Basis for Social Collaboration. And this is one of my favorite abstract titles and subject. If you can get to the session, I highly recommend it. 100,000 users, they've already deployed Same Time to all of them. They're deploying Same Time unified telephony to all of them. They've integrated Same Time into their business processes, into their intranet. Their users are used to using these kinds of tools and interacting this way. They're using the integration with connections to drive the next step in their evolution to becoming a social business. They're leveraging the tools they have with Same Time, the users who know how to use this, and they're now driving them into the connections platform by showing the value it adds into Same Time. So it isn't all about connections. Sometimes it's about how I leverage what I know in my communication side to improve and change the culture within my organizations. And again, it's all about business processes. AVDS, one of our partners, is here, along with Interactive Intelligence, and they're showing how they're using connections and Same Time integrated into the Interactive Intelligence contact center application to radically change how organizations are providing customer support to their customers. There's a white paper that's just recently been written by the Constellation Research Group. So beyond business as usual, the mega shift, not just the shift, the mega shift towards social communications. They interviewed a number of different IBM customers. They walked through these scenarios. They quantified the business value that comes from it. And that report's available on IBM.com. It's also available on the Constellation site. Now, again, it's not all just about connections, but it really is about the business value. So the Australian Bureau of Statistics is here, and they're talking on Wednesday about how they've integrated Same Time with Polycom, and they're leveraging the visual communications. Because quite frankly, what's more social than visual communications? But they're leveraging visual communications to drive collaboration across immense spanses and immense distances. And finally, the city of Davao. They're deploying the IBM Smarter Cities Intelligent Operations Center solution. And I dare anyone to say that 3 times fast. Right? Same Time is a component of that, And not only is it a component, it is the foundational component that they're deploying. And they're using the Unified Edge Radio Connect solution to connect all of the emergency operations folks in the operations center with the folks out in the field, the first responders in case of emergencies. So again, we're seeing the IBM platform deployed in forms of same time and connections across multiple forms of business processes. I was even more excited to see some of the abstracts that came in because there are 7 different sessions that we could accept, and there were an awful lot that we had to turn down that were about integrating same time into business processes. We have everything in here from integrating same time into contact centers, to Microsoft environments, to portal environments, to integrating it with connections, and even my favorite one from one of our business partners, a roadmap to connecting same time with everything, which I think they can totally handle in an hour. That won't be a problem at all. But this is the kind of feedback that we're getting from you. We're hearing that you understand how social communications, how they intersect, and where the value comes from is how you tie these things together in your business processes. Now, let me transition just a little bit and talk about same time in 2012. Last year on this stage, we talked about 4 key areas that we were focused on. Rich communications, because we knew voice is a requirement, but increasingly video was becoming strategic for our customers. Mobility, and quite frankly, the first question I get from every customer when I sit down in a briefing is, when am I going to get audio and video in a same time meeting on an iPad? Tie these first 2 together, and I have an answer for you today. Social networks and how we're increasingly integrating with social networks, whether it's connections or third-party networks like LinkedIn and other services, and cloud delivery. In order for us to operationalize social communications, these were the areas that we were focused on in 2012 and 2013. Let me just give you some insight into what we did this year. First thing we did early in the spring was introduce something called the IBM Connection Suite. We got a lot of questions last year, how do I become a social business? So we put together this bundle, which is Same Time Advanced, with all of its integrations into connections. It's Same Time Unified Telephony Lite, so the ability to use your Same Time Connect client as a phone or as a video terminal, the video call, as well as connections, and then FileNet for content management, a limited use license of content management from FileNet. We put all those together under one license, under one price point, under the Connection Suite, and we put that out into the market. We got a very strong response. From a communication standpoint, one of the questions we heard a lot about was, well, what about compliance? How do I manage compliance and ethical firewalls and minimize spam and the impact? And how do I do it across communications and across social? So we partnered with Actiance, one of the leaders in this field. And we've taken their products and made them available through IBM's Passport Advantage system. So now as our customers are looking at how they deploy social and how do they deploy unified communications and social communications, the compliance tools are also readily available for them, and they can take advantage of all of the discounts they get in working with IBM. We also released a few mobile clients. You might have noticed them. They're coming about every 2 or 3 weeks on your mobile devices. There's updates on the app stores. I think we had approximately a dozen different mobile client updates, whether it was chat services and mobile services on the iPhones and on the Android phones, whether it was meetings on tablets, whether it was BlackBerry clients. Our mobile team was exceptionally busy this year, rolling out lots of different mobile clients. And then finally, on the cloud front, one of the things I'm most proud of that we accomplished this year was upgrading the IBM Smart Cloud for Social Business offerings with same-time meetings. Now when you have meetings, whether they're on-premises or you're doing them in the cloud, you have one consistent user experience across both of those platforms. That's something we've wanted to do for a long time. It's been a long time coming, and quite frankly, Brian and team helped drive that through. Now why don't I take a little bit of a breath, and I want to hand this over to Brian so he can demo a few of these things to you.
Thanks, John. So, as John said, one of the primary things that we focused on in 2012 is getting to a consistent meeting experience between our on-prem set of products and our smart cloud set of products. Okay, so exciting here is we're done. We did it. It's here. It's been live since early December, and we're already running multiple millions of meeting minutes on this every month. So this is pretty exciting for me. So a couple of things that I want to go through to kind of deliver on the message that Jeff stated this morning around cloud first are some of the unique features with meetings on the cloud versus meetings that you may have deployed on-prem. And so there's 3 areas that I want to show you. The first is to deliver on the message of social integration. So today, when you're using meetings on-prem and you're uploading documents to the library, you're doing that off of your hard drive, right? Your local hard drive. With same-time meetings in the cloud, you're actually able to do this via My Files. right? So this is the integration with connections files. So I can go in here, pick any of the files from my repository, upload it to the library with no round trip to my PC. We think this is a huge, huge improvement. So that's number one. Number two, one of the things that we've heard, especially with companies that deal with low bandwidth geos, is if folks are having trouble joining a meeting, we have trouble telling whether it's the meeting server or whether it's the network. So we introduced this idea of a health check. So this will go out from the client, the meetings client, against the smart cloud server and determine the latency between the two to indicate whether or not the network itself is an issue or if there's some other something else going on. So as you can see here, we're going against our US data center here, and the latency is quite good. So those are the first two. The third one that I want to talk about is something we haven't delivered yet, but we're going to deliver soon, I think is the term that I'm supposed to use, which if you look in the upper left-hand corner where my cursor is, it's the audio conferencing. So if you happen to sit on Beth Ann's session that just ended, she showed some of this, but we're working with a partner named Arkadin to deliver out-of-the-box audio integration right out of Smart Cloud. So together, with the meetings experience, with the audio integration, the social integration, there's really no reason you couldn't use this today for all of your external meetings, and we encourage you to try it out. John?
Thanks, Brian. So for 2012, it wasn't just about the enhancements we made and the improvements that we made in the system. It was also about working with our partners. And we know that, and you know that Sametime has a vast partner ecosystem that touches almost any aspect of the portfolio and helps us deliver a complete solution for our customers. But there are a couple that I want to call out in particular that did some interesting and novel things in 2012. The first actually is Arkadin, the company that Brian mentioned. Not only are they helping us with our audio conferencing needs on Smart Cloud, but they've just rolled out a new set of integrations for the Sametime on-premises product. So if you'd like to use Arkadin audio conferencing, and they're rapidly moving up the chain and becoming one of the largest audio conferencing providers in the world, they've got integrations that they're showing on the demo floor. So please go down and take a look at them. We also have Apilio. And Carl Tyler, who's probably sitting in the audience somewhere, I think I saw him over there. Carl's released a set of plugins for Sametime that integrate with PGI audio conferencing. So if you're already working with PGI and you'd like to integrate that into your Sametime meetings experience, so you have complete control over audio conferencing from within your Sametime meeting environment, Carl can help you with that, and Apilio can help you with that. From a telephony integration standpoint, I do want to call out my friends and enemies over at Cisco. We love you. We hate you. You're great. The Cisco guys have updated all of their plugins for Sametime. And one of the things I really like about what they've done is in the past they've had what I call a click-to-launch model. From the Sametime Connect client, you would see someone, you'd click on their name, and it would open up a Cisco soft phone or a third-party, a Movi client, for example. Today, they've revamped that entire experience. It's all fully integrated into the Sametime client. Your end users will never know they've ever left Sametime because it all happens right in the Connect client. And then we think that's a much better user experience and much more consistent from the end user perspective. I also want to call out ShoreTel. ShoreTel is one of our mid-market providers in the telephony space, and they've done a tremendous job rolling out a similar set of plugins that work with Sametime for their environment. So again, we continue to have robust ecosystem around telephony, around audio conferencing. I need to call out my friends over at Plantronics and Netcom and for Jabra and Sennheiser. They've all released updated plugins for Sametime, and many of them released Mac-based plugins for the Sametime, which I am exceptionally happy about. I know our execs are, because we're all running Macs. And now we get to take advantage of some of the great capabilities we've been telling you about when it comes to integration with endpoint devices. And of course, you saw the 4C table demonstrated in the OGS today. Not only is that cool and I want one for my home office, the initial integration scenarios that we worked on with 4C were all about Sametime meetings. So they've added the connections pieces, but they have a fully multi-touch environment that works with Sametime meetings. And quite frankly, it's a very cool experience. And I encourage you to go visit them at their booth as well. And then finally, I would be remiss if I didn't call out my friends from Polycom. They've invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money in really rolling out some first-class integration with Sametime. And not only have they done the technology, and really over the last 12 to 18 months, we've started to see some really significant customer wins. And we've been posting those wins as case studies on IBM.com and over on the Polycom, or Polycom.com. So please, I encourage you to go take a look at those as well. So really robust 2012. For those of you, my analyst friends sitting in the audience, I know you like to ask about the numbers. I'll give you just a couple. The overall install base of Sametime is now 32 million. So we're up about 2.5 million users over previous years. And we like to cite the fact that for the last 5 years, we've had about 30% of our new customers running in an Outlook environment. So these are folks that we can't find any Notes licenses for anywhere. Well, the good news is that number actually spiked last year. It's up to about 40%. So we were actually pretty pleased and impressed with that. 40% of our new users, our new customers, are not using Notes at all. So Sametime continues to be an entry point into the overall IBM social business stack. Okay, so we covered all the preliminaries, and you know what? We're 5 minutes ahead of time. We're doing great. Let's talk about what you're all sitting here for. Okay. Try not to do that again. That's what happens when you show too much enthusiasm on stage. We're going to cover the roadmap. Now, again, we're going to start with those 4 basic capabilities that we said were our focal area: rich communications, mobility, social networks, and cloud. Now, I normally don't like to do compare and contrasts when I talk about these environments, but we've already talked a little bit about telephony integration. And we've got lots of options. We've got vendors who provide plugins. We've got Sametime Unified Telephony Lite if you just want to do a basic soft phone. We've got SUT if you want full, robust, intelligent integration into your telephony systems. But I want to talk about video for a little bit. And let me just kind of refresh your memory about where we are in terms of video today. So today within Sametime Video, we actually have a very good, nice solution that's kind of on par with what you'll find in the industry. It's an active speaker switched experience. So that means no matter how many people are in the call, you'll see whoever the active speaker is, and as that changes, it updates over time. It's based off of H.264 AVC, kind of a standard codec that's out there in the industry. It is desktop only, so if you want to do audio and video in Sametime today, you have to be on a browser client or you've got to be on a rich client, so you need your laptop to make that work. We offer things like client-side recording, and for the architects sitting in the audience, you'll know that it's a single instant deployment model. And that means you've got one media manager cluster someplace and everyone around the world is connecting to that one cluster. Any sort of advanced capabilities, you want to dial out to an audio conferencing bridge or other services, well, that happens through third-party integrations that we do. So that's what's today. It's a good solution, on par with what's happening in the industry. We just didn't think it was good enough. So I've got some pretty good announcements about where we intend to go for the lawyers in the room with Sametime, the next version of Sametime. We think the next version of Sametime is actually going to be the only solution you're going to need for desktop video. And I'm going to put desktop in quotes here. First and foremost, we're going to put a highly scalable software MCU into the Sametime product. Let me say that one again. We're going to put a full software MCU into Sametime. It's going to offer high definition. Going to offer high-definition continuous presence video. So the Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch video that you've come to know and love from third-party systems will now be fully integrated into the Sametime environment. We'll be leveraging industry standard and, quite frankly, cutting-edge codecs around H.264 SVC. And really, you don't need to know the details, but one of the cool things about SVC is it allows each individual client, mobile client, desktop client, rich clients, to say, this is the bandwidth that I have, and these are the horsepower that I have. So therefore, send me the following video streams. And each client has the ability to flexibly accept the streams. So we're not just pushing one big pipe down to your iPhone anymore. We're going to send the appropriate video bits down to what you want to see. As I mentioned, it'll support browsers, it'll support rich clients, and it'll support mobile clients. So that question of when do I get audio, video on my Sametime meetings on an iPad, it'll be coming with this release in Sametime. It will support both server and client-side recording. And I love just reading this line. Geographic distribution with automatic MCU cascading. Really all that means is you can have multiple instances of your media, your software MCU spread around the world. Local users connect to them and they will interconnect to each other. So a much more robust system than what we're operating today. I heard a little bit of applause in the back over that one. So somebody in the room is an architect. It'll also include dial-out capabilities, most likely with a third-party gateway. But you can have your users using Sametime audio video and bridge out to an audio conferencing line for customers, for example, or for business partners that are outside of your firewall. So we think this is a much more robust and usable solution than what we've had in the past. We're also opening up Sametime to third-party endpoints, and this is something we've never done before. So that means you'll be able to leverage out of the box some Polycom SVC-based endpoints, so a lot of their newer endpoints, and you'll be able to make and receive same-time voice and video calls off of that endpoint. You won't have to fire up a PC and connect something to it. You'll simply be able to use those endpoints on your desktop as if they were part of the same-time system. And of course, all of this is going to be backward compatible with your existing same-time deployments and video infrastructure. And we will continue to support all of the third-party integrations that we work with today. You certainly want to use this if you're using desktop video or mobile video. If you're running a telepresence room, you probably do want a nice big iron MCU back there, and we want to be able to integrate with those as well. So we think this really changes the value equation, and it's really going to help a lot of our customers in their future communications needs. So we're excited about this one. My remote has lost its Bluetooth connection. So we'll just go here. Let's talk about mobile just for 1 second. There we go. That's better. Now, I mentioned we're going to be supporting mobile clients. From my perspective, it'll be both voice and it will be video. So we're not only talking about, there we go. We're not only talking about voice and video in same-time meetings and voice and video chats from the mobile clients, we're also talking about a full soft phone for SUT and for SUT Lite. So now when you're traveling internationally, you've got a nice little 3G connection, you can use your data instead of leveraging the voice services that are available natively through the phone. And from my perspective, it's not just about voice and video on mobile devices. That's good. That's important. But we're also using the mobile experience to think about how we do what we do within Sametime. We know from your calendar you're supposed to be on a meeting. We know who's supposed to be in the meeting with you. We know when you join the Sametime audio video who's actually on the meeting. So why do we do roll calls? Or why would we ever do a roll call in this environment? We can provide a visual audio conferencing experience. And you can see who's supposed to be there. You can see who is there. And you never have to do another roll call. Or why do we do introductions? I can tap on any one of these names and bring up a LinkedIn profile or a connections profile. And I can read who these people are and why I'm listening to them instead of having 10 people do introductions for the one person who happens to be new to the call. So we think we can address and simplify the overall meeting experience, and we're starting with the mobile environment. So I think some of this is cool, but what I want to do is turn it back over to Brian and let him demo some of these new capabilities.
Okay, so I wanted to show two things off the iPad here, both of which John just described as coming soon in the future. So these are not things that are available today, but we're going to give you a sneak preview. So if you've used the Sametime mobile app, this looks very familiar to you, right? With one exception. If you notice in the upper right-hand corner, there's a telephone. So this is what I'd like to show you now is the soft phone that we will be integrating into the mobile client. It's as simple as clicking on a contact, bringing up their business card, and dialing. Now this is dialing out, of course, no telephony on the iPad, and hopefully you guys can hear it over the speaker system here.
Hello, this is Barry.
Hey, Barry, are you there?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
All right, Barry, you're now live to the IBM Connect Sametime preview. Say hello to everybody, Barry.
Hi, everybody.
There you go. So there it is, live and working, code working, and we're going to get this out to you soon. Thanks, Barry.
Sure, Brian.
Now, I expected a little applause on that one. This one should be really good. So we have a couple of folks in the audience here that are going to help us. I see them holding up their iPads over there, so let's hopefully this is the network is going to hold up for us here. So again, so this is our meetings app that you see mobile, the mobile app stores today. Again, one significant change. If you look in the bottom on the row of icons, there's one there that's called video. So let's see if this is going to work. So thanks to Pat and Marlon up here in the front row that are going to help me out with this. So we get to video. We're going to make the video call. So there's me live. There's Steve King in Austin. Steve, can you wave and say hi? And there's Marlon in the front row. And another person who I don't know, but thanks for joining. So this is continuous presence. And so, again, delivering on the promise and the stuff that what John described. And we cannot wait to get this out to you guys because many of you in one-on-ones and sessions have been asking for this, and it's coming. Code's running live. Stay tuned. It'll be out as soon as we can get it out. John?
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Good stuff. Really good stuff. All right, so we've gone ahead and covered major announcements around voice and video. We've talked about mobility a little bit. Let's just talk about social for a moment. Today, Sametime offers the tightest integration with, of course, the industry's leading social networking software, Connections. It's amazing, though, not as many people know about how we integrate with Connections as we would think, so we'd like to touch on this just a little bit. Some of the basic integrations are very simple. We presence enable the profiles. So anytime you see someone's profile or business card in Connections, there's a Sametime icon that can be next to that. By right-clicking on that icon, you can launch any Sametime service. Click to call, click to meet, click to video. With Connections 4, we added something called the Sametime status bar. So let's say you get to work in the morning and you log into Connections. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll have the ability to simply log into Sametime and set your status right from Connections. You don't have to fire up Sametime separately. While you're in that environment, if you receive a chat request or other collaboration request, it'll happen through the pop-up Web Zero download browser client. Of course, if you're using the rich client, then it'll simply update your rich client status for you. We've already talked about the shared business card a little bit, but one of the more compelling integrations I happen to like and use on a regular basis is the ability to ask any member or the ability to ask a Connections community a question in real time. I don't have to know who the members are. I simply have to know that that's the community on pricing or on marketing or in a given geo or in a given technology. And through Sametime, I ask the question, and they get a nice little pop-up on their screen that says, John is asking the following question. Do you want to reply? And I can get an immediate response. I don't have to wait for someone to read a forum and reply to me or a broadcast email and decide to reply to me. I can get responses almost instantaneously. And this tends to make Connections a much more productive tool because it moves it into the real-time environment. But where we're going next is we're going to make that industry-leading integration really a lot better. So the first thing we're going to do is last year we demoed a video chat widget, which means within the Sametime Connections community, you press on a little button, and you're now in a video session with anyone else who's in that community and has also joined that call. So you've got a kind of hangout sort of experience within Connections community. Well, we're going to productize that. We're going to put that out on the release. We're also going to go a step further. We're going to make meetings available as a widget within a Connections community. And you saw this in the OGS. And the first time the guys brought this to me and said, this is what we want to do, I didn't quite get it. I didn't understand what would be the value of having a Connections community own a meeting room or own multiple meeting rooms. And then I lived it. One of my project managers, who some of you may know, John Thompson, rolled off of the Sametime team and took a job working for Doug Cox earlier in the year. And John ran all sorts of meetings with all sorts of different partners and all sorts of different projects and had lots of meeting rooms devoted to all of those different topics. And then he left. And he started deleting all those meeting rooms because he wasn't going to need them anymore. And with it went all of the content and all of the projects and all of the status.
IBM
and
Notes
suddenly we're all
needs your
running around like
attention.
chickens with our heads cut off going, stop deleting, we need all this material. Whereas if the Connections community owns that meeting room, the content, the knowledge, the workspace that is that Sametime meeting room stays in the community. John leaves, a new project manager comes in, and there's no transition.
Excuse
there's no
me,
pickup whatsoever.
IBM Notes needs your
Very,
attention.
very powerful model. And we're going to do the same thing with persistent group chat from Sametime Advanced. We're going to roll that into Connections as a widget so that you have the ability to leverage persistent group chat rooms, which are exceptionally popular among regulated industries from within the Connections environment. Now, Brian's already showed you the integration between Connections libraries and Sametime meetings. But we're also taking some integrations the other direction. We're going to give you the ability to search Connections profiles from within the Sametime Connect client. And to me, that really helps make Sametime a much more social beast, and quite frankly, much more useful than it already is. Now, let's talk just a little bit about the cloud. As Brian mentioned, it's kind of stole a little bit of thunder, one of the things that's going into Smart Cloud in the coming year is not just the Sametime meetings, but also audio conferencing services. They're going to have an add-on into that environment. And the cloud salesperson sitting in the front is a very happy camper. But we're also bringing a number of other updates into the cloud environment based on Sametime. One of which is we'll be enabling them to use the browser-based chat client. So instead of having to download 150 megabyte Sametime Connect client for the privilege of doing instant messaging on Smart Cloud, it'll all be part of the zero download browser experience. For certain offerings in the cloud, we'll be enabling mobile instant messaging, another big request we've gotten from customers. And quite frankly, file transfer and screen capture, two of the more basic pieces of Sametime, have been two of the things that have been most highly demanded. So we're going to be turning those features on within Smart Cloud. So as you can see, we're going to be really extending the capabilities of the Smart Cloud environment. And our intention is ultimately to bring the video capabilities we've talked about here into that offering as well. That may happen towards the end of the year or maybe into early next. But we're not just talking about public clouds, we're also talking about private clouds. Our brethren in GTS are actually here at the event. They've got a booth down on the demo floor. And what they've done is put together a services offering for a private cloud for a UC as a service. So a fully hosted unified communication solution. It's Sametime, it's Sametime Unified Telephony, it's an IP PBX, it's IBM voicemail, and if you like hard phones, they'll even be happy to equip you with hard phones. This is a services offering today, and you can head down to them and talk to them. Gopal Gupta, who's actually Gopal Sura, wrong Gopal, who's on the bottom of the business card, is down in the demo hall and able to show you and tell you all about this kind of new offering that's coming. So if you'd like Sametime in a private cloud, our GTS brethren can help deliver that kind of capability. Now, believe it or not, we're running really early, so we'll be able to hang out and do some questions. But there are 2 more slides we want to cover. This one is very near and dear to my heart. For the first time since Sametime 7.5, we are going to significantly revamp and overhaul the Sametime user experience. And I am ecstatic about this, because I've long held that Sametime is a Windows 95 app in an iOS and Android world. You can see some of the screenshots here. A few of them were demoed in the OGS this morning. We're not just skinning it, though. We're not just looking at it, making it prettier, although it is, and it looks very nice to use. I've got some of the early code running on my laptop. But we're also thinking about the user experience. You know, for example, Sametime today doesn't actually tell you how you look to the outside world. You have to bring up a chat window with yourself in order to see how someone else sees you today. So we'll be changing that. We'll be bringing up a little business card insert for you just for yourself, so you can see the way that you appear to the outside world and manage your status. We'll be adding a number of other capabilities into the product set. You can see a tabbed interface here in the chat window, much simpler, much cleaner. There's no more toolbars running across the top. Services are actually enabled on individual users. If somebody's got a video camera, you'll see that icon. If they don't, it won't be there for the individual user. You can add things like your connections network to Sametime as a public group. So now all the people you're following in connections, well, they can be part of your user experience within Sametime, and you don't have to manage your contact list separate from your connections environment unless you'd like to do so. And you can see we've got lovely pictures of Brian and some other folks testing out the continuous presence video in the new user experience. I'm really excited about this. I think it goes a long way towards making Sametime sexy, and I think that's fantastic.